This is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator Podcast, where CEOs, senior leaders, and C-suite executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders know how to share their ideas concisely and quickly. Let's jump right in. Question number 1. In a few sentences, please tell us who you are and what you do.
So I'm Dr. Lydia Hughes-Evans. I'm so glad to be here with you, Stacy, and I help leaders to achieve their dreams. So I work with nonprofit organizations in management and operations and to help them implement. And then for individuals, I do career and executive coaching, and I help women achieve their big relationship dream.
Whew, I can imagine the doors being knocked down for you, especially through COVID, right? Where everybody is like trying to navigate this whole relationship world in a pandemic.
That's right. That's right. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So if you were to give your life a theme, we're going to start kind of big. If you were to give your whole life a theme, what would it be and why?
That's a good one. So I would say that nothing is wasted because I've had the opportunity to, in my business, be able to use all of my gifts and talents, my experiences, my education, my personal experiences in relationships, my personal experiences in business or as an entrepreneur, working in nonprofits. I've been able to use all of that to do what I do and to help support others to do what they do. So that would be my theme, that nothing is wasted. And even when I get to serve different populations, organizations, individuals, it's actually the same skill set. So I'm using the same transferable, motivated skills in helping individuals. So it's fun and it keeps it interesting and it doesn't get dry. And I enjoy every moment of it because it's doing what I love to do.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm sure a lot of us wish that we could look back on our life and feel that nothing was wasted along the way, that we really had a chance to leverage each of those things and to use them as we move forward.
That's right. That's right.
So how did you know it was time to try something new? I think most people hit that fork in the road and they're not necessarily sure. So it sounds like you kind of figured that out for yourself. How did you know it was time?
So there's a few different things. One, I would say that when I was employed, I always knew it was time to pivot or to look at doing something different when I was dreading going to work. So when I would pull into that parking lot and like my stomach would start churning and there was sometimes I would get nauseous or I would just be dreading at the evening before about waking up and going to work. That's usually when I knew, okay, I need to make some sort of a shift. And also for me, I like to binge eat, which specifically means carbs and ice cream. And so when I start to eat lots and lots of carbs and ice cream, that's probably a signal that there's something else that's going on that I need to be paying attention to. And then also just kind of like losing your vision or losing your purpose, kind of feeling like life is you're just living every day, day after day after day, but there's no big goal or big dream, or you don't feel like part of something bigger. And so for me, when I start to lose that vision, that's how I know it's time to make a change.
So you create for me that image of that feeling of robotic, right? Roboticness, where you're just kind of going through the motions and you're just doing things to do things, but you're not really living or feeling. And it's funny, I love how you're using examples that really are kind of more subconscious more than they are conscious, right? It's the body's way of communicating with you long before you've ever had the realization in that frontal cortex.
That's right. That's right. And it's that body kind of speaking that alerts my frontal cortex that, oh, we have a problem. Mm-hmm. Now we need to dig through and start to see what that challenge is and how can we get back on track. Somehow we've gotten off track somewhere. We've got to figure out where that happened.
Yeah, so pause and reflect is what I'm hearing you say. That's great. Yeah. So how do you stay true to yourself in that process? I mean, what does that look like? I can imagine that it was pretty fearful along the way. Like, am I sure that's really what I'm thinking and feeling? Am I sure that's really what I should be doing?
That's right. That's right. So I think first of all, it was just for me being honest with myself and acknowledging that I was unhappy, acknowledging that I was discontent, just making that okay and not trying to force myself to feel like I should be happy or whatever the case is and acknowledge that I'm not, and then, work on the process of going from fear to faith. So Napoleon Hill talks about the 6 basic fears that kind of drive all of us. So the fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, or death. So I kind of go back to that list and I'm like, okay, what is holding me back from getting to where I need to be? Which one of those fears? A lot of times, sometimes it's fear of criticism because I'm afraid to make the wrong decision. So that may be something that holds me back, but I kind of look at that list. And then the last thing is definitely practicing self-care. So I have to be kind to myself when I realize that I have to pivot, because pivoting takes a lot of mental and emotional energy. So making sure that I'm eating well, that I'm exercising, hanging out with friends, and just really keeping myself well in that process.
Oh, and I love how you talk about that. When the word fear for me always reminds me of the acronym, those false expectations appearing real, right? And they become really big in our head, and they can really hold us back. So it sounds like, if you just invest a little bit of time of actually understanding the fear and addressing it, it almost diminishes it, it sounded like, versus reinforced it for you.
That's right. It takes away the power, for sure. Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming there's got to be a time where you didn't get it all perfect, right? Was there ever a time that you were taken off course? And if so, how did you know, and how did you get back on track? Or maybe you just allowed yourself to go too long down one path as opposed to really recognizing when it was time to pivot.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for me, I have a really, really big heart, like most of us. And so what that looks like is me giving more of myself or too much of myself to my own detriment. So that's helping other people sometimes to build their dream or to do things, but I'm not doing the things I need to do to build my own. And so I usually know that I've gotten off track when I'm running into financial problems, because that usually means that I'm putting too much emphasis or priority somewhere else, and I'm not valuing myself enough to be compensated enough so that I can maintain my level of life and to be able to, do the things that are priorities for me too. So I tend to kind of over volunteer or over give, and that will get me into financial situations. And that's been a pattern that I can see through life of when I've gotten off track. And so in order to be able to get back on track, I need to recommit to my dream. I need to recommit to my business. I need to recommit to the things that I'm called to do, so that I can get back on track. And that a lot of times means setting healthy boundaries, particularly around pay, my time and pay.
Absolutely. And it screams a small business owner when we talk about this, because they love to do trade. They love to, or I should say I'm certainly in that boat myself sometimes, where I would convince myself that trade was worth it, or, doing it for free would lead to something else, but not really focus on ensuring that then took place. Right.
That's right.
So I love everything that you're saying here. And I got to imagine you've got a pretty strong network of people that you pay attention to and that you're influenced by. I'm curious, what other successful leaders like yourself, Dr. Lydia, should be on our show, right? Who else should we be paying attention to?
Oh my gosh. So there is a good friend of mine. She actually works with me as well. She's her own consultant in her own right, named Michelle Chenault. If you have a business, or you're thinking of dreaming of having a business, you have to know her. She's saved me so much time and so much money, in countless ways. And I love, working with people and building up people, but she's the mastermind behind business itself and the functioning of business itself. So you have to talk to her.
I love it. Well, I will find her, and I will make sure to get her on this show, and I'll say, Dr. Hughes said you needed to be here.
Yes. Yeah, and you'll love her too. She's very, very approachable and passionate, but she's sharp. So she's amazing.
Well, as are you. So thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear from you and to learn your ideas. I'm curious, if folks wanted to reach out and introduce themselves, how might they go about that?
Oh, perfect. You can find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Lydia Hughes-Evans, and you can find me also on Facebook. Recently, but brand new to Facebook, but I'm also on Facebook, right?
Well, good. We'll go seek you out. We'll find you. My audience knows they can find your link down in the description below if they want to click and learn more information.
Yes.
So I do hope you come back and join us for a future session as well. We love to have repeat guests. But until that time, this is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator Podcast. For more ideas and insights, please do go check us out at www.concilioteam.com. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.